truth of the matter is, I have been listening to the discussions, and I know it is something that we are all very passionate about. Whenever there's any threat to life, our reaction is generally different, and it can get very emotional. And in the midst of the emotions, facts get lost, okay? So first thing is, the president and the government have clearly indicated a commitment to fight Galamsey. What have we done? Government has indicated all the steps that have been taken. You know, we've always been involved in small-scale mining activities. Small-scale mining activities. And we've always lived with small-scale mining activities. I recall when I was a law student, I was a research assistant to, a teaching assistant, actually, of Fui Chikata, who was lecturing natural resources law. And he recruited me to do research, field research on small-scale mining practices and activities, because at that time he was trying to propose legislation to govern small-scale mining activities. We're talking about 26, 27 years ago. And I did go around the country with a geologist, 27 years ago, with a geologist from Geoman Consult. I don't know if any of you knows Geoman Consult. And we went from community to community where small-scale mining activities, which is what Galamsey is, small-scale mining activities, unless the person engaged in the activity has a license. If you don't have a license, it is Galamsey. If you have a license, it is called small-scale mining. And it is in degrees. You have artisanal mining, which is what a lot of our young boys are engaged in, where they go and they just feel that there's gold here, and they start digging with pickaxes, with shovels, with headpans, and then they are carrying it to locations where they do the washing. That one is called artisanal mining. And it's been happening for years, in fact, for centuries. That's how mining was done until the Europeans came with large-scale mining activity where they introduced excavators and mechanized mining. Otherwise, we're doing artisanal. And the artisanal has persisted up to date. What was Ghana's problem? Ghana's problem started when people discovered that they could bring Chinese to come and join them, and the Chinese could afford machines, and they will work with the Ghanaians so that what I could use my pickaxe to dig for a month, the Chinese would dig out with their excavators in 2 days. So the level of exploitation accelerated through the utilization of machines. So the movement from artisanal hand digging by our young people who are unemployed and think that if they dig and get something, they can also sustain themselves. The movement from there to the use of excavators and dozers is what really became our problem. That was the real issue, because the scale just got huge within a very short period of time. So this government took a decision that we have to deal with that part of the problem. Hence the decision that we will seize every equipment that we find to stop that rapid, deterioration that is happening. And as at July, when the media briefing of the Minister for Mines occurred on the 23rd of July, he indicated that we had seized 177 excavators. 177 excavators, 4 bulldozers, 12 vehicles, 43 motorcycles, 155 pumping machines, 184 changfangs, 15 detector machines, 10 heavy-duty generators, and arrested over 1,345 people. Now, for those who are interested in the fight against Galamsey, when government says this, what I expect is to go out and confirm if this number of seizures did occur. Because if you're actually able to seize 177 excavators and stop them from working, do the calculation from the date of the seizure up to date. If those 177 excavators were actually on the ground excavating on a daily basis, calculate the level of damage that those excavators would have done to our Earth's surface. Then the volume of ore that they would have excavated and how much washing would have taken place, and etc. I expect that to happen. The second thing government decided to do was to block all importation of excavators. Arrest excavators in the field, block importation of excavators. So government has announced that we have hundreds of excavators parked at the port because we won't allow you to clear them. Before you clear, you have to come and establish that government has given you a contract and you are going to use the equipment to go and perform the contract. So the whole scrutiny of what you are going to use the excavators for has deterred many people from importing excavators. So I expect you to go to the port to find out, indeed, have they blocked excavators from coming into the country? The hundreds that government say we have blocked, are they actually there? Secondly, government says we are going to introduce surveillance of the movement of excavators everywhere in the country. So trackers will be installed in every excavator and every earth-moving equipment. So we can geo-monitor every earth-moving equipment to see where an excavator has moved and what it is doing there. Let me tell you, from my experience, I was Minister for Environment, and my job was really to deal with this issue. From my experience, the greatest thing that you can do is to take the excavators out of the system, to take the dozers out of the system, to take the chamfangs out of the system. Because you would have reduced the problem from 100 to like 20. The 20 is the young people who are now there with their pickaxes and shovels and they are digging. The rate at which they are going to do it is usually very, very slow because human energy has its limitations. And the numbers can't just increase astronomically. So there has been a major progress in slowing down the process of, destruction of the environment through Galamsey events. And I just want you to go to the field and check. I expect anybody who really wants to accurately report on the level of progress to go to a site and take an aerial view and tell me which part of that site was dug in the last 8 years and which part of that site was dug in the last 7 months or 9 months. Are you getting the point? Because when you are driving and you see destruction, you might think it happened yesterday. Yeah, you might think it happened yesterday. But it is digging that has taken place for maybe 10 years. Digging that has taken place over 10 years. I'm being very honest. You know me, I speak freely. And nobody can stop me from speaking my mind. Nobody. So that is a more honest and accurate mechanism for really assessing progress that has been made beyond the passion that I see. We're passionate about it, but are those the real facts on the ground? Have you really gone there to check? When he talks about corruption in the enforcement, very true. Very, very true. You send soldiers, the soldiers say, hallelujah, my bread has been buttered. I used to be environment minister. I will go to a Galamsey site, and then I will ask, but how did these excavators get here? Because on my way here, I passed 5 barriers. So if I pass 5 barriers, how did this excavator, because it didn't pass through the bush to get to this place, it's also passed on the same road. So we need to discipline our security agencies. No DCE can accurately say he doesn't know where Galamsey activities are taking place in his district. Then you are not supposed to be occupying that post as a DCE. Because everybody's jurisdiction, they know. If Galamsey is happening in Boku, I can tell you where it is happening and how. And I can actually tell you which are the boys who are there doing it. So no member of parliament sitting in this house can claim not to know what is happening in his constituency. Same as no DC can claim not to know what is happening in his constituency, district. Same as no regional or municipal security committee or council can claim not to know what is happening in that area. And no one can claim that we cannot stop Galamsey. How can we not stop Galamsey? If we can't stop it, then we are a failed state. Because this is something that is happening in broad daylight at a given location. You can't be carrying the thing around and doing it. So when we are chasing you, then you carry it to this place. No, it's the same location. So if we are paying a police service, we are paying an armed force from tax money, they can't claim that they cannot stop this. But I can assure you that so much progress has been made. Now, when it comes to the artisanal activity of young people digging and etc., that is why we introduced the community mining initiative, because we can't stop them altogether. We need to move them to locations and manage them at those locations, because it's an economic activity. What are Ghanaians really worried about? First, the destruction to the environment. 2, the chemical pollution. That's the real issue. And for me, that again is what is being addressed by recruiting so many EPA officers. And I know the EPA department has recruited thousands of people to now deploy them to all those sites so that they can show the small-scale community miners exactly how to use the chemicals to avoid the pollution. Because the large-scale miners are also using the same chemicals. Mind you, they're also using the same chemicals. So but they are supervised by EPA. They have permits. They come to the site. They see how you have planned the mine. They see exactly where you are going to use chemicals, and then where you are going to dump the waste, and how you are going to treat the waste, and then water that you have used, how you are going to purify the water before you discharge the water into the environment. For the large-scale mines, the EPA is focusing and making sure that all these are done. So they need to also be present when the artisanal and small-scale miners are also doing that. Now, there are structural issues that we must address. And I, yesterday, gave hints. One, all the artisanal and small-scale miners that you have seen out there, they all want to operate legally. Every single one of them wants to operate legally. And I'm saying this because as a former Minister for Environment, I have visited many sites. And each time I engage the actors, they say, Minister, we want to operate legally. We want a license. Nobody who has money to buy an excavator. As I'm sitting here, I'm struggling to get equipment to do roads in my constituency. It is so expensive, you can't even afford it. Nobody who has money to buy an excavator and a dozer will claim that they don't have money to pay a license for a small-scale license so that they can operate there legally. Because he's invested in an excavator, a dozer, chamfang, and he doesn't want it to be seized. Do you get it? But the challenge that they face is that they cannot get the licenses. Why can't they get the licenses? You now move to minerals commissions. You find out that each time they submit an application, they are met with a response that somebody has already applied for a prospecting license for that area, so it is in the name of somebody's company. Meanwhile, that person is not there. He is not prospecting, he is not investing in mining, and so there's no job opportunity for the young people. So the first thing that we have to do, which I have promised to do, and which I actually hinted yesterday in my speech, is that we are going to call on the Minerals Commission to bring all the records of prospecting licenses. Let's see. Because each prospecting license depends on the size. Some of them are very small, but most of them are large, and they cover like 150 square kilometers, 77 square kilometers, 100 square kilometers. And people have plotted all these areas across the country in names that you cannot really establish who the names are. And then when these young people go to them, so give us a small space for us to do community mining, they say, oh, the place is clocked. Somebody has registered it as prospecting license. Some people have gone as far as plotting those places that they are very convinced have gold, and they have actually gone ahead to pay and obtain mining leases, and are keeping it for years. And every year they just go there and then they pay the renewal, but they will not go there and invest in the mining. When the young people go and say, give us a small-scale license so that let's do it properly here, they are told that, oh, the mining lease, it belongs to somebody, so you can't get it. He looks around, he doesn't see anybody. He will start digging. He will start digging. The chief will say, go ahead and dig. I'm here. Anybody who says that he owns it, let him come and ask me, whatever question he has to ask. So people are accusing the chiefs. No, but the chiefs are sitting there. You have plotted the place. You have given it out to some ghost name. His children are sitting there unemployed. Your investor has not come to do large-scale mining so that he can get jobs for them and then livelihood opportunities for them. And then you are telling him that he should stop the children from digging. How is he going to stop them from digging? How else do you want them to live? So we must hold the Minerals Commission accountable. And then we must hold the EPA also accountable. EPA, and I used to head Ministry of Environment, and I know that if you don't present a license, even if they are sitting there, you are digging in front of them, they will say they have no right to interfere because you don't have a license. Even if they can come and guide you and say, look, you don't handle the mercury this way, you don't do it this way, you don't grind it this other way, that person would think they are being complicit in an illegality by going there to guide an illegal operator how he should carry out the activity in an environmentally, proper manner. So we need to address that issue as well, in addition to all the other efforts that government will put in place.